the no escape build in Evil Dead the game. Welcome everyone. We're going to be talking about the best build on what I believe is the best character on the family side in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, first off, let's start with why should you use this build? Because, like I just said, Hitchhiker's the best family member. An argument could be made that Leatherface is better because he does have the ability to one-shot people, and also the way the game is designed makes it so Leatherface is essential to every team because of the fact that he has to run around and destroy the little cupboards that are laying around that block certain areas, and how he can destroy crawl spaces and things like that. But I think Hitchhiker is the best because of the crazy amount of utility that he offers, and he's so good in a chase. He's just relentless. He's just an incredible character, and his traps are fantastic. So we'll jump right in and look at his ability first, his traps. Now, as far as how you want to build his traps, I won't go over. I'm going to make an expert guide too that dives into every single way that you can play him and every single strategy you should use on each map. But for this build, I'm just going to explain why I'm taking these perks for this build. So, I think in general, this is pretty much the only way you want to do it, which is taking the increased damage, and then the breaking free of traps is 28% more difficult. And then the last one, the level 3 that you absolutely should be taking every single time, is when a victim is snared, the activated trap is highlighted to all family members. You got to take that. It helps immensely with helping your team actually take advantage of your traps. Without it's difficult to make a call out and be like, oh, somebody just stepped in my trap, because you don't even know where. It won't show you where unless you were to like activate your family sense and you were close enough to see it. But for the most part, you would just be like, oh, it says someone's snared, I don't know where, and then they don't know where, and they don't even know where you put your traps necessarily, especially in solo queue. So this helps a ton with allowing your teammates to capitalize on your traps. In an ideal world, you would be able to, I think damage is probably more important than increased escape difficulty, because most people get out of traps fairly quickly, even with this level 2 buff. But unfortunately, you can't, because this thing is all the way over here. So if you took increased escape difficulty first, then increased damage 2, you can't go all the way over to the left side to pick up all family see noise. So go with damage first, then at level 2 take increased escape difficulty, and level 3 take all family see noise. Now for the skill tree, you're gonna go right side here and just go all the way around over here. Now, for this specific build, you only need one perk that is a randomized perk. Now, you can see here that I went to the right. You're better off going to the left. Why I went to the right, I don't know. I think it's because before I filled this out, I technically didn't have this like discovered yet, so I didn't know it was up here. So I went this way to see what was up here. And then on my random perk note, I hit scout. So I was like, for the video, I'll keep it. But it's probably better to go left, because Dracula is a useless perk. There's no reason to take this, whereas Fired Up could be decent. We're not using it in this build, but it's a good perk. So it's better to have that than it is to go over here and take Dracula, which is useless. So go left is what I'm saying. It doesn't really matter a ton because, like I said, you're not using this, but go left. Then you're going to take Wireframe here, and Wireframe is used in this build. It's very important. It's his best unique perk. And then up here is very important. Go right. You want to go right because you don't care about Tenderizer, but what you want here is exterior alarms. This is the big one, the important one. So you want to keep this. That's what you're going to be using as your grandpa perk, and it's one of the better grandpa perks in the game. And when you come up here, all the way to the top, Uh, you might be tempted to go left because you see, oh, swinging for the fences, reduce stamina consumption on melee attacks. That's pretty good. It's arguably probably the second best perk. It's I'd say it's in the top 3, up there with exterior alarms, and then the one that increases melee damage. But you want to go right because you want to take tracker tagged, and I'll explain why you want tracker tagged in a second. Violent is a random perk that you could potentially get. That is something you could use in this build if you want to increase damage. You are kind of playing for damage with this build, but ultimately I decided not to do it because I'm not enjoying not feeding Grandpa. Like on Leatherface, it kind of makes sense because you're like, hey, that extra damage percentage could be the difference between one-shotting somebody or not. Whereas on Hitchhiker, maybe it'll be the difference between it taking 4 hits instead of 5 hits to kill somebody. But in my opinion, it's like he attacks so quickly anyway that that's not that important compared to actually being able to feed Grandpa and level him up as quickly as possible. So I think you need to go right and take tracker tagged. That's what you want to do for the skill tree. For the perks, what we're using here is wireframe, which at level 3 makes it so you can traverse gaps 40% faster and crawl spaces 60% faster. And I should have mentioned this in this portion where I talked about why you should use this build. The reason you're using this build is because it basically makes it so they cannot escape you. Like once you find someone, short of them jumping down a well, that's the only way that anyone should ever get away from you. No matter what kind of gaps they use. I've even had games where I've played against super sweaty victims who know how to abuse iframes and go through these like what essentially amounts to infinites. And it doesn't work because the combination of wireframe and level 3 scout makes me so fast that I get at least one hit off before they can successfully get those iframes when they're going through a crawl space. So you will, even on the strongest loops, whittle someone down and eventually kill them. It's basically impossible to loop Hitchhiker with this build. And that's why you're using it. So that's why you're taking wireframe, and that's why you're taking scout. Scout at level 3 increases your movement speed by 15%. It decreases melee damage by 10%. The decrease in melee damage sucks, but it is what it is, and you're putting a bunch of points into savagery anyway, so hopefully you'll still be pretty lethal with your attacks. And then for your third perk, it's tracker tagged. And the reason that I'm taking tracker tagged on this guy is because the highlighting someone isn't necessarily for your team, although that does help because it does say it highlights them for all family members. It's mostly for yourself because there will be moments where maybe you'll get a little lost, especially if you happen to go down to the basement. Most of the time you shouldn't, but if that does happen, maybe you're trying to get the last victim that's left or something. But there are areas, especially on Slaughterhouse, where it's easy for victims to break line of sight and for you to lose track of where somebody went. So with tracker tagged, if you do get a hit off on someone before they get those iframes and get through a crawl space, now they're highlighted for you. So you can see exactly where they're going to go. So not only does it highlight it for all your teammates, it highlights it for you as well. Also extremely helpful if you ever get door stunned. I've had many games where playing against super sweaty victims who know how to door stun, and I get hit with a door stun, but I smacked them before they were able to do it, and boom, I can see exactly where they're going. So I can still stay on them. They cannot lose me, and that's the whole point of the no escape build, is that no matter what they do, they are not going to be able to break chase unless they use a well. So, and the nice thing about this build is that with his traps, you can deny wells a lot of the time. So there truly is no escape from this guy a lot of the time. And then for his grandpa perk, you're going to take exterior alarms. There aren't a whole lot of great options on the direction of the skill tree that we're taking, but exterior alarms is like probably a top 3 grandpa perk anyway. So this is really, really good. And it says when active, all critical doors and gates are highlighted for 5 seconds if opened. That's massive, especially with the way that they classify critical doors. In my experience, what they classify as critical doors are exactly what you would expect and want. So, for instance, if you're playing on gas station, those 4 gates, the 2 that lead to car battery and the 2 that lead to the gas station, are considered critical gates. So, as you're patrolling those, if anyone does happen to slip past you, boom, you're going to know right away, oh, there's somebody over there. And also huge because then it means you don't have to directly trap those doors because you have a perk that's going to notify you if somebody does happen to make it through those doors anyway. So then you can use your traps in a much more helpful and efficient way. So then, and I normally don't talk about this because it's mostly cosmetic, but I will briefly mention it here. For your execution, don't pick this third one. I think this is the one that you purchase. It's part of that like execution pack DLC. Don't pick Die Piggy. This perk or this execution will bug you out and get you stuck in the environment a lot at the time of this video coming out. So if you're watching this later down the line, maybe this has been fixed. But at the time this video is going to be released, this thing will bug you out quite a bit. So don't take this, because I've gotten stuck in the environment multiple times. I've seen teammates who have gotten stuck in the environment multiple times. Don't take this execution. Stick with one of the first 2. So then moving on to the attributes, you want to put 3 points into blood harvesting to get him to 25. Like I've mentioned in other videos, that's important because 25 is going to give you a 100-point blood vial, so you can give Grandpa a full level if you happen to execute somebody. So put 3 points into blood harvesting, and then the rest you're going to put into savagery. With your perk builds, because you might be wondering, well, if this is the no escape build, why aren't you putting all your perks in endurance? So he's super fast and hard to get away from. No one's getting away from you with this perk build anyway. So buffing endurance at that point basically feels redundant. You don't really need to do it. You're already so effective at chasing that no one should ever get away from you. You might as well pump up your savagery so that you can actually kill people relatively quickly, because if you don't, yeah, you'll be able to stay on somebody forever, but it's going to also take you forever to actually kill them. It's going to take like 20 hits for you to actually kill somebody. So the likelihood that they're going to escape you and get to a well in time and get to safety is going to increase dramatically. So pump all the rest of your points into savagery, so you're made just that much more lethal. Now, as far as how to play him, the gameplay goes, I'll show you a short little clip of gameplay over here from one of my Twitch streams. A lot of people complain about the perk that allows you to disable Hitchhiker's traps without a bone shiv. That perk should not be a problem for you whatsoever. Do not use your traps to just trap objectives. Now, there's exceptions. If I were to go into a total expert deep dive, there are times where you will trap objectives. Like if somebody has gotten the fuse box open, maybe you'll move one of your traps and put it there to try to help deny it. But you'll see where I'm putting this trap right here on gas station, or not gas station, slaughterhouse. The reason I'm putting it there is that gap is very popular, especially when fuse box spawns over there. And that is exactly how you want to use your trap. See, people can't see that trap. They are animation locked when they go through the crawl space. So by the time they get through there, even if somehow they did spot it, it's like, oh, it's too late. Now they've stepped in the trap and they're in trouble. So that's an excellent place to put one of your traps, because it helps deny those 2 doors that go to generator, while also denying that fuse box should the fuse box spawn over there. Because no survivor, or victim, I should say, ever goes through that like gate that the Anna just opened up. They never go through there. So, trapping that is important. I love this trap on Slaughterhouse. So like I'm talking about, what you want to trap are basically choke points that are not places that are where victims are going to be frequenting a lot. They're not going to be like slowly walking through that area. Generally, when they go through an area like that, it's going to be in the middle of a chase, right? They're going to be doing it in the middle of a chase in order to try to get away from you. So putting stuff there, putting your traps there is really, really good. And on this map specifically, it's nice. You can see I caught the Leland there. When you put it just over on the other side of that, it's difficult for them to spot, and a lot of times they're going to run that way in the middle of a chase, so you're denying them that avenue of escape, if you will. And the nice thing about this trap, too, is that not only is it difficult to spot and people will run into it in the middle of a chase, where I put my third trap on this map, which I don't know if I'm ever going to do it in this video, because of how quickly these victims were working, it helps deny the water valve exit, which is really important. It basically denies both of the pathways to get to the water valve exit. So yeah, the TLDR of that is basically don't use your traps. Don't set noob traps where you're going to put them like right on top of an objective to where, you know, people can easily spot it and then take advantage of that perk that helps you disable Hitchhiker's traps without a bone shiv. Don't do that. It's way too easy to get rid of his traps that way. Put them in spots where people are not likely to see them and where people are going to be animation locked into crawl spaces and things like that. And then also in places where you're trying to deny certain choke points. And that's basically it. That's what you're going to do with the traps. Also, when somebody steps in one, high priority for you to actually reset them as quickly as possible. I get like 4 or 5 snares every single game. I also realize that in this video, I'm not using tracker tagged. That's okay. I don't even know that I'm using scout in this video, but I just wanted to show you, like, gameplay wise, what you're gonna do, like where you're gonna put traps and things like that. So that's the gist of it. Give this build a try. Let me know what you think. I'm having a ton of luck with it. This is also, I think, the best build you can use if you're somebody who plays solo on the family side. It's a really great way to help mitigate bad teammates. If you have teammates who don't really know what they're doing, it's an excellent solo build that allows you to take care of multiple different things by yourself without needing any assistance from teammates. Like, if you have bad teammates, yes, it will still be frustrating, but it won't be the end of the world. You'll still be able to you know, get kills and things like that just on your own. So give this a try. Let me know what you think. I hope this video helped you. I hope you enjoy this build when you test it out. And leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then I will see you in the next video, which might be a Hitchhiker expert guide where I do like a full-on deep dive analysis of how to play him on each and every single map. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.